Welcome to another episode of Progress Always. Mike Anders here with my homie Sergio Nazzaro, founder of Become the Standard. And we go all the way back, as I described it, just like we were talking before we got on the air. You know, you're part of that group of men and women that I feel like I became a man with through the Air Force Academy prep school experience. And just having come back from Gilberto's change of command and seeing some of the old homies and realizing like all the big things that they're up to, both in and out of uniform. You know, it just really makes you appreciate the ilk that we're cut from. And, you know, it's really cool. I know you and I haven't had, a lot of contact over the last 2 decades, but we're here now and I'm happy to catch up, and I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Dude, thank you for having me on. Like, kind of to your point, like it's been 21 years. It's been 21 years and I've been watching you from afar, and like to see you grow, evolve, and like make the best of your fucking life has been dope. And to come around the people that we were, came up with 21 years ago, and to realize just how amazing those guys are and girls are. Like, it's pretty cool to think back on that experience and how that has shaped us as individuals.
Well, on my way out of the academy, they made me read this book, Iron Sharpens Iron. And, the whole premise of the book is, you become who you surround yourself with, and that which you put out is what you will then receive, and, when you think about it, you take it for granted because you get to that level in that room with these people and you're like, do I belong here? The imposter syndrome sets in, and it's hard to handle on the ego, because it's like, damn, everybody was all everything wherever it is that they came from. Like, where do I honestly stack up in this mix of amazing individuals? And it's not, as we've come to evolve into it, these relationships, it's not a cream will rise to the top. Like, you're at the fucking top.
Yeah.
You've just never been surrounded by this many people of that caliber.
Right. I felt that quite a bit. I was the last admission into the prep school. So
Really?
Yeah. So the way it worked, I got declined to the academy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got declined to the prep school. And I had no other plans going into my senior year, but I was calling down to the admissions office every week. And then finally, 3 days before graduation from high school, I get a call back and they're like, "Hey, Sergio, somebody decided to go somewhere else and they returned their spot. You've been so consistent. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah." And so heading into the prep school, I felt like I had something to prove to everybody. Like, I earned my fucking spot, even though nobody knew. Obviously, you didn't know. I felt like, hey, if I got this last slot, I'd have something. I need to prove this to everyone, like why I'm here. And so the ego was a big thing coming in for the first few years.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. Like, that just reminds me so much of like Eric's story getting to Alabama. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a backup plan. This was it. And here we go, like, and I'm assuming that you graduated in June. So like, on less than 30 days notice, you're going to commit your life path to.
Dude, my summer went from like, okay, cool, I guess I'll try to get into Colorado State, to, hey, you leave in 17 days. And I was like, fuck me, but at the time, like, my parents couldn't afford college. So this was really like the last ditch effort. This was it. And so the fact that it kind of came through, I was like, hey, man, sign from God right now. I better take this. I'm going to go. And it worked out.
Dude, that just goes to show, like, you don't ever know what somebody's path has been, No. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is we make assumptions, It's like, oh, everybody got here. And at the same time, like, going back to the kind of people that we were surrounded with, like, a lot of people, the academy, especially because the prep school, for those of you who don't know, is a kind of a litmus test for the academy experience. Like, it's a lot of late bloomers like myself from an athletic standpoint. It's people that didn't quite make the grade to get straight in. It's prior enlisted airmen and enlisted personnel that have a really incredible opportunity in front of them, but still they need, by somebody else's metric, another year to develop and become who they need to become to handle the academy experience. And we just assume that, like, oh, a lot of the stories we heard in the locker room in football was like, oh, I was headed somewhere else and then I got fucking hurt, or I didn't make the grades, or whatever. So this is just a holding point. This is just a stopping point on my way to go do something else. Yeah. And so you just assume that everybody kind of feels that way. And like the prep school experience very specifically is like, especially in the beginning, it's like, man, why the fuck am I here? Like I could be doing so many other things with my life right now, and I am here not getting credit for shit, Dude,
I remember like I was so miserable at that place that like the one time we got a phone call, I called my parents. I was like, I don't want to be here. I was like, damn, dude. So that was like, they're like, my dad goes, hey, listen, if you come home, we ain't paying for shit. And I was like, all right. So I was like, I'm gonna try and hurt myself to get out of here. And it didn't work. I couldn't hurt myself. So I just got stuck. I was like, get me the fuck out of here. And like, to your point, like you're just in this and you're like, God, what did I just sign up for? Because you have no clue what you're stepping into in this like purgatory experience.
Right. How has that experience, looking back on it 2 decades later, shaped where you are now, having moved away from active duty to helping get Colfax CrossFit off the ground, to a very successful career in real estate, and now become the standard is your baby. How has that experience way back when served you today?
There's this level of persistence and pain that I feel pretty comfortable with, like navigating in and out. And so I think if there's one lesson that I took from that is like, how long can you endure something until you get the result that you're looking for? Because that game at the academy and that game at the prep school, it's a constant experience of like, okay, I don't know when this next evolution of training is going to end. And I have 5 years of this. So how can I break this up into manageable chunks so that I can get myself through this mentally, physically, and emotionally, and get to just a spot where I can breathe for a moment? And so coming out of the prep school experience, it was one of those where they took 4 years, compressed it into one. It was very overwhelming. It was a lot of like, am I committed? Am I not? But what I walked away with from that was like, okay, I'm stronger than I think I am. I'm mentally capable. And if I want something, I know how to achieve it. And so there's this persistence game to get accepted into the prep school. And then there was this persistence game to endure the pain of the first year. And like, those are experiences that once you have them, they shape you and they can't be taken away from you. And so, opening up a gym, all the things that come with that, the trials and tribulations, to help me get through that and see it from a different perspective. No different in real estate. It's like, I want this. I just have to be willing to endure and get past this. And now I'm going through the same thing. It's just a next evolution.
Yeah. At level, there's levels to this shit, right? And when you leave the uniform, there's a self, there's all those tools that you mentioned that you need to take with you, but there's a self, an ego that needs to be left behind, And as I'm working with a lot of veterans and ex-athletes in our practice with Next Level, I see that a lot. They haven't managed, or they don't have the skills, or it was just a giant blind spot that they're hanging on to this old self that's actually inhibiting their evolution into this new, better version of themselves. And what's interesting about that entire evolution is once you do that, everything that you needed from those experiences come with you, and all the stuff that doesn't serve you anymore goes away.
Yep.
And it's interesting bringing people to that new level of awareness, because just like you were saying before we started the show, it's like I now have a level of clarity that I didn't know fucking existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I love bumping into people that are at the infancy or whatever that next level is, and they have all these preconceived notions of what it should be, what it could be. And I equate all things entrepreneurship to joining the Marine Corps on September 10th, 2001. It's like, I'm getting out of my shitty situation. Uncle Sam's going to take care of me. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to start making some money, blah, 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 blah. All sunshine and rainbows. And then the towers came down. It's like, oh, guess what? You also signed up to go to fucking war too. Yeah. Right. And it's like, when you come into business for yourself, it's like, I'm going to change all these lives. I'm going to start making killer money. Boom, boom. You know, everything's going to get better. And it's like, no, you still got to deal with people. You know, shit, you know, the pandemics can happen to everybody. You got to be willing to go through that and still see it through to the end. Right. And it's that whole acknowledgement and awareness of the good and the bad, and no matter whether it's a peak or a valley, you're still moving forward. And
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, I think it really comes down to one simple question. Like, what do you want? Mm-hmm. A lot of people can't even answer that question. So like, once you get clear on like, what do you want? Like, you want to transform lives. You want to start a coaching company. You want to get into real estate. You want to get into the Marine Corps. When that becomes like a desire for you, and you know that is your calling, then you're willing to sit in those pits. And then you're willing to climb that mountain and get to the top of that peak and realize like, oh, hey, now I'm just here to find the next pit. Like, I don't have a choice. And so that modulation between pit and valley and pit and peak and being able to sit in those only becomes manageable and doable to the extent that you are committed to what you want and you are clear on what you want. And I think that's a lot of times people won't endure long enough because they don't actually want what they think they want.
How long, you know, you talk about enduring, and I know that you've come to this really amazing place where you don't have any of the self-induced shame around your vulnerability. And watching you share your story on social, from stage, and you know, everywhere that you can see Sergio, you know, what helped you come to that realization? Like, what was the pit that you found yourself in that was the impetus for who I'm talking to today?
Yeah. It was 2015. I just got chills because I know I'm getting ready to share this shit. It was 2015. I've shared this so many times, but I was 2 years past my deployment to Afghanistan, and I deployed as in the Air Force, right? So they barely let you hold guns over there in the Air Force. But I'm sitting there. Doesn't mean I didn't see shit. Doesn't mean I didn't experience things. And I got back in 2013, and I suppressed all the shit that kind of I had as an experience over there. 2 years later, I go through this breakup, and everything kind of fucking comes to a head. I have this identity crisis of having been out of the military for, 2 years, and, after serving for 11 and a half. I turned to drugs and alcohol because I don't really know how to deal with what's coming up. I have these thoughts about suicide. I'm sitting in my new apartment on the floor, just crying, just wishing that I didn't have to like wake up. And I'll never forget, I went to Coachella, and I'm balls high on Molly just at this concert. And I have my head in my hands. My friend's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I just had my eyes shut. I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." But all I was thinking about was like, I am not called to this planet to do this. This is not what I'm fucking here to do. And so, I'm in the middle of dealing with PTSD. I'm in the middle of dealing with like heavy substance abuse. And I'm having like this come to Jesus moment at the middle of this fucking music festival. And I'm like, all right, enough's enough. And so I get home and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing the deep work on myself. And the level of vulnerability that I'm able to share now, dude, I consistently on a regular fucking basis think about the battle scene at the end of 8 Mile. And I'm just like, dude, Eminem owned it. And the moment he owned it, nobody had anything to say about him. And so for me, I'm like, I'm going to come into fucking life like that. There's going to be no skeletons. And the things that I'm afraid to talk about in private only become my prison until I speak about them publicly. Mm-hmm. And so that's been my kind of like, all right, let's work through this. And then let's get it out there because your problems aren't unique, Sergio.
100%. And, going back to the whole pit and peak of it all, have you in the expression of that vulnerability and the telling of your story, first of all, thank you very much. Did you receive any backlash or was there any negativity that was born of that sharing? Because I think that's what holds a lot of people back. They're afraid that if I tell my story, tell my truth, that I'm going to, insert bad thing here, alienate myself, lose friends. People are going to think bad of me, whatever. Things are going to go south in my business. Like, did you experience anything like that?
Yeah, I lost a whole group of friends.
Yeah.
Oh, let me rephrase that. I lost a whole group of friends. Because reality is, it's like they just liked me for the person that I was pretending to be.
Sure.
The moment the truth came out, right, it was too much for them. Mm-hmm. They went their way, I went my way. And at the end of the day, I realized, dude, I was just hanging out with fucking losers. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I did lose some friends. But what came on the backside of me sharing that was these deep connections, not only with my family and my close friends, but a lot of times people being like, hey, thank you. I didn't know you were going through that. And you've given me permission to share my story or go to therapy or have that hard conversation with my wife. And those types of feelings are like, that's invaluable. Like I remember a lot of these conversations, and to know that simply by me opening up allowed somebody else to have a conversation with their wife about something they were struggling with, and now they're good. Dude, that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, there is good and bad. And mm-hmm. to me, I was like, all I know is that there's misalignment with me not speaking my truth. And it was exhausting.
Yeah. Alignment, right? What was the first decision you made? I mean, I would assume that you wrote out the rest of the Coachella experience. I fucking would have, but
yeah, dude. Dude, I ate more drugs. Yeah. I think that was a Saturday. I think Sunday I was like, I'm gonna try some acid, and then we did some more Molly. Dude, I was in it. I was having a blast. Like, don't get it twisted. I rode that out.
Yeah. But
I got back and I was like, all right, cool. This stuff is kind of controlling my life a little bit. I wanna get to the essence of me. Mm-hmm. And so I think part of that was just being willing to have a hard conversation with myself about like, okay, I need to explore some things, mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the answer that you found once you started asking those honest, challenging questions?
That I had been putting on a persona for so long to protect myself. And I wasn't being real with anybody. Mm. And that got me really emotional, that I was like ashamed to just be me.
Who are you?
Dude, that's a great question. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a leader. I'm a man. I'm emotional. I'm strong. I'm stoic. I'm all of it. Mm-hmm. And I think the question, who are you, right? Like in this season of life, like I know who I am in my core, and I think that allows me to speak my truth. And I also know that I don't know who the fuck I am.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of power in the not knowing. I agree. I got this tattoo on my left arm. It says, I only got this far because of what I did not know. Mm-hmm. And it creates this perpetual cycle of seeking answers and asking hard questions. And it's just a reminder to give myself permission to be new at things. And as we engage with people that are successful despite themselves, right? It's a really challenging act. It's a really challenging practice to, despite all of that achievement, be new at something again, mm-hmm. right? It's such a blow to the ego, because even though you're performing at a high level, whether you solve the money problem, the fitness problem, the relationship problem, you've cracked the code on those things, to like go look at the shit that you haven't cracked the code or you aren't performing at that level in these other areas of your life. Like the ego's like, why the fuck would you go looking for that? Right. But even in your practice with become the standard, right? How do you bring people to that realization, that acceptance, and then drive them to action anyway?
Yeah. There's this relationship with the ego that I think is really important. A lot of people say kill the ego, but the ego is you. And I think you have to just understand who the ego is and what it represents and create an intimate relationship with it. Part of this awakening that we do and become the standard, the awakening of souls and men and women, is that we first have to excavate your truth. You're the facts of your life. We have to willingly go into the dark parts of your life. And so we talk about the hard stuff. Like, I don't give a fuck what's going well. Like, it's not that I don't care, but we have to go into some of these places that you are afraid to go in yourself. And I will guide you there, but I can't become the light for you there. You're going to either have to become it or shine it on it yourself. And it's that exposure game of being able to willingly go in there, see kind of what are the patterns, what are the thoughts, what are the stories that are at play that have created the results that we have in our life. Let's explore those and go as deep as we possibly can across all domains of your life. And that excavation of that type of stuff allows us to then, once we can be truthful with ourselves, own the facts of where we are, it's the only way that we can start to cast and build a future. A lot of people just want to get to, well, let's build the future. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, we got to know where we're at first, or the future's just going to be built in fantasy. Mm-hmm. If we don't know where we are, if we don't, like, just in, when you did like land navigation, you have to know where you are before you know where to go, or else you're just like, it could be 2 steps to the right, or it could be 17 miles southwest. But we have to first ground ourselves in our current coordinates, if you will. I'm going real hard on this land nav analogy. and then we can start to march forward. So a lot of it's spending just time and like breaking down the stories that we've told ourselves for so long that have become the truths that we believe. Mm-hmm.
That's such a hard ask, man. And very, very, very rarely are people willingly in pursuit of that question.
I know.
Right. And, so much of what we do is born of our own journey and the benefits and the benefits of our experience. Right. And, I have a lot of people that have expressed to me like, man, I wish I could be more like that. How did you get to that place? And I was like, it's 20 years in the making, a quarter century in the making. Like, I wasn't always like this. When I was at the academy, coming from a legacy family of military folks, I think my family tree has become officers every which way you can, sans the academy. My dad was a Mustang, my mom was ROTC, and like, I just thought I had it all fucking figured out. I was like, well, this is just a check the box, paint by numbers experience that I just totally, and because I went into it with that frame of mind, I got lost in the work that it actually took to get through the process.
Tell me more about that. I'm curious. I've always wanted to know what the fuck happened.
I bumped into to Dirty at Berto's change of command, and there's a handful of folks that were on the outside looking in of my entire academy honor probation experience that are just like, why the fuck weren't you with us at the end? And the facts of the story, I got behind in computer science our freshman year at the academy, and a 10-point quiz changed the entire trajectory of my life. I got on the phone with one of our buddies, and I was like, hey man, let me get the answers to this so I can turn it in. It was just a matter of turning it on time. I wasn't even trying to get the 100%. I probably could have done just as well on my own, truth be told. And, my roommate sitting behind me in our dorm room was like, had heard me do this before. This isn't like a one-time thing. And this time he was like, dude, I can't. not going to put up with this shit anymore, or whatever the fuck. I actually never had a conversation with him about it. And he goes and tells our squad comm that, hey, I think that Anders is cheating on a test. And that started the ball rolling. And in an effort to contain that fire, I compounded a lie that was already existing in an effort to keep everybody else out of trouble. Right. In what I thought was the preservation of my honor and integrity. Because I come from a place prior to the academy where the lesson in my household was always, hey, do the crime, do the time. But if you're willing to engage in that kind of activity, then if you get caught, you're the only one that gets caught. Right. And I had a lot of upperclassmen that were like, dude, that shit happens all the time. It was only 10 fucking points. Throw yourself upon the mercy of the court. You'll do your 6 months of honor probation and you'll be good. And I was like, okay. So I've got it on good authority, but from motherfuckers that have done the exact same thing, got caught, ran up the flagpole, went through the process, and they're on the way to graduation. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I do that. And then here's what fucked me. Timing is everything. Halfway through my probation, 85% of our class gets implicated in that cheating scandal. Right?
Yep. I forgot about that shit.
I had nothing. I honestly, hand to God, I had nothing to do with that.
I believe you.
The powers that be were like, how the fuck did we recruit all these bad apples? So they rolled everybody that was had a similar incident or was involved in that one directly, and they're just like, dude, give them the fucking axe. And me and a handful of other guys and girls related to that incident or not, we're just guilty by association through and through, and they let us all go. And I was like, my parents hired an attorney. I pled my case. We did everything that could be done to keep me at the academy, to no avail. And I had to fucking figure it out, dude. And, for where I'm at now and us having this conversation, 20 years later, I'm so happy that it happened because I'm here now. But if you had asked me back then, like, I got the shit end of the stick. I hate everything about where I'm at. Dude, I went through like a 4-year personal hell where nothing I did, successful as it was, I graduated a whole year ahead of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And, played 2 more seasons of football, got the degree I really wanted in health and human performance. Like, I had a lot of great things happening for me, and I didn't appreciate any of it at the time. And so like that was that's the story of my exit from the Air Force Academy.
It's wild to think back on that moment, right? And you're right, timing is everything. Dude, I cheated on stuff at the academy. I didn't get busted, right? I don't think I've ever said that. Hopefully they don't take my ring back.
They'd have to take a whole lot of rings back, bro.
Yeah, come get it, motherfuckers. But you think of I would love to have that conversation. But you think about that, right? And you think about how there's one thing that I've struggled with my entire life, and I struggle with it even as I'm building Become the Standard. Enjoying the journey. Enjoying the journey. And no matter what the journey is, it's like, how do we, even in the fucking hard times, when we get to the end of what we accomplished, if we never spent time enjoying the stuff along the way, seeing things, our growth, our, how we dealt with struggles, if we never spend time like in gratitude and reflecting on that, then every time we get to what we think we wanted, it will never be as good as we thought it was going to be, because it only makes up 1% of the entire thing. And so even in this, as I hear you talk about that, like reflectively, you can be like, okay, cool. This is the best thing that has ever happened to me. But in the moment, you were probably like, fuck this shit. I got screwed, all of it. And that's warranted as well.
Sure.
So the question I have is like, that experience, those 4 years when you were in your own personal hell and you weren't able to see some of like the silver linings, what have you learned from that experience that has helped you kind of like mold yourself and be where you're at now?
Oh man, that's such a good question. As I look back on it, one of the missing ingredients in that entire experience was I was not a grateful person. I feel like I know I was a good person, but I wasn't a grateful person. I wasn't grateful for the opportunity that I had. I wasn't grateful for the coaches and my parents who went to bat for me just to have the opportunity of going to the academy. I wasn't grateful for the second chance I got to keep playing football and pursue a degree that I was actually interested in. Because I'm at the academy just, again, at the time trying to check that box and move into active duty. So not wanting to fly, I didn't have any interest in an engineering degree of any kind. And nor did I have an interest in a management degree, which a lot of us ended up getting, So, despite having what could have been just a very shitty moment of my life, because I lacked that gratitude, it turned into 4 years of a really dark 4 years. Yeah. And so now it sounds so cliche, but it's like, dude, I'm thankful for the good and the bad, because once I got my head out of my ass and I got into deep work, personal growth and development. And I'm so fucking grateful that I got invited to that network marketing company, February of 2006, because one, it was my introduction to entrepreneurship. 2, it let me cut my teeth in sales. And 3, it was my introduction to the work that I wasn't doing. And, my mentor through that period of my life just exposed me to so much of myself that I had abandoned, left behind, and just through habit patterns accrued through football, being a military brat, I was not only was I in this 4-year dark place, but I was also on autopilot. So I had accumulated such a skill set that even on autopilot, I could succeed. Right. And even saying that out loud, it's like, holy fuck. Like how long could I have sustained that? And
it's a scary spot to be.
Right. And that how many people are we dealing with now that have been doing that?
Dude, a lot of my clients are living their life on default. Not even by design.
Right.
Because it's sustainable for a bit until it's not. And then all of a sudden you wake up and your relationship with your wife has gone to shit. And you're in a career you hate and your kids won't talk to you. And you've become fat as fuck. But your business is good.
Yep. Absolutely. And so when I became aware of that and I woke up I started to choose gratitude every single day. That's when the shift started to happen. And in previous iterations of podcasting, I had a co-host, good friend of mine still to this day, Jeff, and we would go, toe to toe on, what it is to be successful, happy, and fulfilled. And we came at it from 2 totally different ends of the spectrum. I was like, dude, I need to solve. I've been poor and I've had a lot of money. And I've been unhappy in both those scenarios. So for me, I need to make sure that I check the happiness box first. Because it doesn't matter what the fuck I build, what I create, any of that. If I'm not happy, it's going to be all for naught.
Yeah, dude.
And looking down the line, like I can't take any of this shit with me.
Mm-mm.
Right. So I want to make sure that I'm enjoying this experience that I'm creating called life. Right.
Yeah.
From his perspective, he's like, I'm going to build tremendous wealth, and then I'm going to go after, that fulfilling relationship, invest in my friendships, blah, blah, blah. But right now, I'm just head down, grinding it out, building wealth. Yeah. I'm like, dude, that is totally cool. No judgment against that. I just choose to go at it a different way because everything that life has taught me demonstrates that like all of that will come anyway.
Yeah.
But I can't get this back.
Right.
Once I'm there.
I think you and I are on a similar path. I was broke. My parents and I, we were broke growing up. I said like I was like, my fucking parents didn't make any money. God damn it. Y'all need to make some money. I can't buy the shit I want. Shopping at Walmart over here. Anyway, and then I have experienced wealth, right? In my 4th year of real estate, right? I took home like $700,000. I was like, hot damn, this is amazing. I was miserable. My wife and I were fighting. We had to call off our wedding. My parents and my sister were like, hey, we don't recognize who you are anymore. I was miserable because I was super out of alignment. And I was like, what the fuck happened? I thought this was supposed to be it. I thought like when I got to this spot, like my life would be great. And the reality is money just magnifies all the things that you haven't worked on. And so I've been in real estate for 5.5 years. And I was like, dude, this was my calling for a bit. And now I'm in this spot where I'm leaving good for great. And that release of what was good in my life and building all this to go to great is one of the scariest jumps that I'm currently making. And like, I say that and I'm having like a physiological response. And yet I know that it's what I'm called to do. And so to me, I'm like, bro, this is the most confident I've ever been. And like, I know it's going to fucking work out. So I want to go after fulfillment, and going after fulfillment for me is having a wife that I love, being a great father, spending time with my family and friends, but also doing the fucking work that is required to get this thing up and running. Yeah. And so to me, I feel like you can have it all. Mm-hmm. There's just going to be seasons where you're a little out of balance, and that's okay.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, seasons and balance. One of my fundamental beliefs in this season of my life is that there is no balance. There's only harmony. Ooh. Right. And it's taking that imbalance and checking those things against each other. Right. Is my time spent here having this conversation with you ultimately in servitude of my family? Right. Is it in servitude of my business? Right? Is it in servitude of this relationship? Right? And that then allows you to play full out in any of those silos because they're operating in servitude of each other, despite however imbalanced or out of sync they may seem in that particular season of your life. And when I switched gears from trying to have this, like, everything needs to be even across the board, and I was like killing myself to manage that, I was like, no, I'm just going to pour a little bit more into this bucket over here right now, so that, my family will be better off later on, so on and so forth. Or I'm going to, I haven't been around for quite a while. I'm going to just put everything on pause over here for a bit and just pour into my family. And that it's less a juggling act and so much more sustainable when I flipped gears and looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, there's two things here. One is like the modulation of like dials on a radio. You're just changing the station, right? And cranking the volume. So like you can modulate between family and business, and you can pull yourself in and out. And I think that requires a level of awareness and understanding of where you're at. I put up a post like 2 weeks ago, and I got a lot of people being kind of pissed off at me. And it was, my family is not the most important thing in my life. My calling to wake up the souls of men and women to become the standard is. And Lizzie, I had a conversation with my wife. I was like, I just, want to have this conversation with you before I put this up so you know where I'm coming from. And I told her, and she goes, I already knew that. She goes, but what you're doing in building this business directly impacts the ability for us to have the life that we want, create the experiences for our family, provide for our son, have us have a better relationship. And the moment that I was willing to accept that it's what I'm doing for my sole purpose, then it's my family. And Lizzie understood that. I felt like a weight of relief come off my shoulders. And now I can modulate back between both of those. And it really is about like, where am I giving my attention, knowing what my purpose is?
Well, and that's so interesting to me because there are so many people, for a long while there at the Leaders Forum, it was really funny. We had a bunch of people in there in the beginning that were in careers that they thought they were supposed to be doing, but they're absolutely fucking miserable doing it, right? And we went through a season in the growth of the Leaders Forum where like the tagline in the room was, come to the Leaders Forum, you'll quit your job. But it was actually happening. People were leaving careers in pursuit of what fell into their genius, where they found flow, the things that filled their cup and didn't pull away from their energy. And as they were having these awakenings, a lot of the fear around sticking with the status quo, what was comfortable, whether it was good for them or not, moving away from their normal became much more manageable. And I think, exactly what you're talking about, you moved away from the gym because it was a business decision, right? I signed on to do the thing, and now that arrangement has changed. I'm going to move into real estate because, maybe it was just the next logical thing. But that logic didn't match your fulfillment requirement, right? And now you're in this place, starting from scratch, and it doesn't matter what the scoreboard says, because you're going to crush it because it's your flow, it's your genius, it's your passion, right? And that says more about your likelihood of success than any school, any credential, any experience could ever.
Yeah. And dude, I'm not going to say I've loved all of this journey.
Fuck no.
People are like, I love to fail. I go, have you ever winned? It's way better. Winning's way better than losing, just so you know. So if you're going to tell me you like failing, go fuck yourself, because it's a lie.
Yeah.
What I will say is that, like, even though I haven't enjoyed all of the journey, this has been the thing where I've been like reflecting back, like weeks, like every week or every month, and looking back like, damn, look how far I've come. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm creating. Like, look at the transformation that's happening. Look how I'm showing up as a different man. Look at the clarity I'm getting. Like, look at the fun I'm having. Like, people see me and they're like, you feel different. I was like, goddamn right I do. I was like, I'm finally here where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so to me, to your point, like, yeah, the numbers on the scoreboard right now, I'm not like super stoked on them, but I'm okay with them because I know that the future for me, like, it's game over. It's been written. I know this.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you got a supporting cast that is on board with your vision, and they can only be that if you have clarity.
Yep.
Right? Like, I'll never, I remember this shit like it was fucking yesterday. We were 5 years into HQ. Hadn't got it anywhere close to what it is now, but the lease was up. And I promised my wife when we were dating, I was 2 years into this deal, and I was like, look, you cannot be the reason for the success or failure of what was then CrossFit PHX. I need from you the next 3 years to do whatever the fuck needs to be done to make this vision come true. At 5 years, come hell or high water, I will do whatever you want. 5 years came up, and I remember having that conversation with her. I was like, hey, here we are. Lease is up. What do you want to do? We had first right of refusal. And I was like, we can keep this train running, or like I said, I can go get a big boy job. You know, I tell people all the time, like, I've never had a real job in my fucking life. Yeah. Not even the Marine Corps was like work to me. I loved every day of that shit. And she looks me dead in my face and she's like, keep it rolling. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And she's like, Michael, I love you. And I know that it's going to be challenging, but for the life of me, I cannot imagine you doing anything else. And when somebody else sees that in you, it lets you know that you are in pursuit or living into your calling. Yep. And it sounds like you have that.
Dude, I call them confirmations. I'm getting confirmations from my wife. I'm getting confirmations from my coaches. I'm getting confirmations from my clients. I'm getting confirmations from conversations. I have the support system that I need in the pursuit of my calling. And the reality is, like, having my wife stand behind me and my parents stand behind me, even though they're not, helping me out with anything, and having my family and friends behind me, I feel like it gives me this level of permission to like step into what I'm doing with this level of confidence that I've never felt before. And so the fact is like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, without a doubt, like I feel it in my soul and in my gut that this is what I was called to do. And so I think with that and knowing that I have them behind me, the only person that can stop me is me. That's it.
Well, I mean, dude, you've eliminated anybody else within arm's reach that could be an impasse for you.
100%. I think
they're all on your team.
Yeah.
But you've also gone to great lengths to curate that environment and that circle of influence, right? That's a lot of the coaching that we do, man. It's like, look, if you want to go where you say you want to go, you can't hang out with fucking losers, man. And I go back to the cats that we were at the prep school with, the fucking firepower, the unrealized potential in the summer of 2002 that was sitting in that room that is absolutely fucking crushing it now, is like, that's who you need to be around. Yeah. Like, those are the cats that have been in the trenches with you, that didn't know what they didn't know way back when, and now they know a shit ton more. And you can call them at 3:00 in the morning, and if you got a dead body, they're gonna be like, how many shovels you need? And if you're really fucked up, they're gonna tell you, get your head out of your ass and fix your shit.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't surprise me anymore, but it still does when people don't realize the value of that honest conflict. They choose the easier way, to surround themselves with people that are just like, yeah, man, sounds good. Let me know what you need. And then don't follow through. Yeah. When I got kicked out of the academy, I made people make strong promises to me. If I can't make it, then goddamn it, you will.
Yeah.
And they did. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't take that lightly, and in the aftermath of the academy, even though I was in that dark spot for a while, they were always cheering for me. I mentioned network marketing, dude. I was like, look, I'm starting this business. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I need $125. What's up? And they were like, dude, I don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But yeah, man, where do you need me to send the check? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a different kind of friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, whatever you need, like, you have proven to me that you are doing the work. It's not about whether you succeed or fail or hedging my bets or whatever. Like, because you're doing that, I support that.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody wrote a check, right? But they were like, man, I can introduce you to some folks.
Yeah.
Right. I can help you grow that thing. This is what helped me. It doesn't have to always be, it wasn't always like compensation. It was always,
right.
It was confirmation. It was support. It was an introduction, whatever. And that's way different than what I watch a lot of our clients in the beginning. Like, that's not the circle that they have.
Yeah. I think coming back to this idea of seasons, I'm okay with friends being seasons in my life to come in and out. I used to get really attached to being like, well, how come we're not close anymore? And then in my head, I was like, yeah, but you've evolved, Sergio. You've grown. And sometimes people are going to be in your life forever, and sometimes they're not. And you have to be willing to let go of some people in order to make space for others. And for the longest time, I was like, damn, I feel so guilty about that. But I don't feel guilty about it anymore because I'm willing to do what is required for me to get to where I want to go. That requires me to evolve, change, go deeper on myself, and expand who I am as an individual. And in that, some people are not going to like it. And that's going to be the end of that season of friendship. And a lot of times what I found is a lot of other people just don't want to rise. They're good with where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment for me. But where I'm going, you're going to have to evolve if we're going to stay together. And if you don't want to evolve, that's fine. Like, we're just going to have a different relationship. But where I'm going, to the thin air that I'm going to be at, it's not that it's lonely at the top, because there's people like you at the top. And there's a fuck ton of other people at the top. I'll hang out with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Speaking of being at the top, man, I had this strong sense of knowing right here, right now, that you and I are going to collaborate on something epic. And I'm grateful for you reaching out and reconnecting. This has been an incredible conversation that I think is going to bring tremendous value to our audience at Next Level and everything that you're building with becoming the standard. And I just want to express my gratitude for your willingness to share your journey and your thoughts and enhancing the frequency of our audience, man. I'm grateful for you, brother.
Dude, I appreciate you having me on yesterday. I was like, or whenever it was, might have been Friday or Saturday. I was like, you know what? I haven't talked to this guy in forever, but I felt something. I felt like I was called to send you something. And so I hit it. And the fact that we're here right now, like, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
100%, 100%. For everybody out there listening to Progress Always, connect with Sergio. He's got a lot to offer, and what he's building is going to have tremendous impact. So if you don't feel like you're living life to your fullest potential, reach out to us, reach out to Sergio, because this rising tide is going to raise all the boats. Thanks, man.
Amen. Thanks, dude.